Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regularly scheduled and properly noticed meeting of the Village of Pinehurst Board of Adjustments for February 5th, 2026. The time is 4:11 p.m. My name is Matt Jones, and I'll be serving as the chair for tonight's meeting. We do have a quorum tonight. We have 4 permanent board members present, Bill Comer, Bruce Hieronymus, Devin McFarland, and myself. We will need to designate an alternate member for our meeting this evening in order to have 5 for our meeting. So we would look to one of our alternates, and I'd like a motion from the board to seat an alternate.
I move that we seat an alternate to achieve the quorum for the board. Amy? Yeah. Cloucher? I'm gonna get it wrong. Amy Boucher.
Motion by Bill to seat Amy.
Second.
Second by Devin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Amy, you're now seated for the meeting. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I'd like to remind everyone that this procedure is being videotaped and live streamed. So speaking into the microphones for board members as well as those presenting tonight is important for the record. Before we get into the hearing, according to our published agenda, we have the minutes from the January meeting to approve. Everyone should have received a copy, January 8th meeting. Any comments on those minutes as recorded? Does anyone care to make a motion with respect to those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Bruce, second by Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved as noted. Prior to our public hearing and pertaining to the variance before us today, I'll ask all members of this board that are seated if anyone needs to recuse themselves from participation due to any ex parte communication, conflict of interest, financial interest in the outcome, or have already made up their mind. So we'll start from the left. You can answer yes if you need to recuse yourself, or no if you do not.
No, I do not.
No, I do not.
No.
Therefore, the next item is a public hearing pertaining to a variance request for a property at 40 Gull Lane. Now I would like a motion to enter into the public hearing.
I move to enter into the public hearing.
Motion by Devin,
Second.
second by Amy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have now entered into the public hearing. Anyone who wishes to offer testimony before this board today in regard to the property at Gull Lane, please come forward to the microphone to be sworn in. This includes staff who will be participating in the hearing this evening, the applicant, anyone representing the applicant, and any other individuals with standing who will or may be called to give testimony. Begin with staff. Well, we can do them at the same time. Please raise your right hand. Do you all swear to tell the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Say that again. Oh, sorry. Please introduce
Yeah,
yourself.
certainly entered in the paper. Michael D'Argenio, and my address is 38 Pine Lake Drive in Whispering Pines.
Great. Thank you, Michael. I would like to remind everyone that the Board of Adjustment decision made today must be based on competent, material, and substantial evidence that has been properly entered into the record. So I'll ask Michael, the staff assisting today, please read the notice into record and provide any information relevant to this public hearing.
Okay. Here we go. Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
So we are here to receive testimony for a variance request from the Pinehurst Development Ordinance, Section 6.3.5B, Table of Dimensional Requirements for 40 Gull Lane, further identified as Moore County PID number 000-25846. This property is located within the R8 zoning district. Specifically, the applicant, Michael D'Argenio, is requesting a variance to allow an approximate 5-foot encroachment into the 20-foot rear yard setback.
Sorry, Michael, to interrupt you. These screens are not on in front of us. Is there a way to? Perfect.
Okay.
Even better.
We good?
Good, thanks.
And then, as Matt said, this hearing was properly noticed in accordance with the Pinehurst Development Ordinance as well as North Carolina General Statutes 160D-406. As you can see on the map here, the subject property is the hatched property, and the red around it is all the owners that were notified, adjacent property owners that were notified of the hearing. So, we're here for evidentiary hearing process. These requests are quasi-judicial and require an evidentiary hearing. As Matt said, we focus on competent, relevant, and factual evidence, not public opinion. All participants must be sworn in to provide the factual, non-repetitive testimony. Staff will present the background information and enter the exhibits. The applicant and witnesses testify under oath, and board members listen, ask relevant questions, assess credibility, remain impartial, and vote. And the final decision is based solely on the evidence and testimony with formal finding of facts on all standards. So what we have before us is to allow a 5-foot encroachment into a 20-foot setback for an addition to the principal structure at 40 Gull Lane. The R8 zoning district has a 20-foot minimum rear yard principal structure setback, and you can see from the table in the PDO where that is located. A little background information on 40 Gull Lane is in the Pinehurst Trace subdivision, which was recorded in March of 1988. The home was constructed in March of 1991 with a lot size of approximately 8,795 square feet, which meets the minimum 8,000 square feet for the R8 zoning district. The applicant is proposing to enclose an existing rear yard patio. The patio encroaches into the rear yard setback 5.8 feet at one corner and 2.3 feet at the opposite corner for a total of 105 square feet. However, patios per section 6.2.2 can encroach up to 5 feet into the required setbacks, which would, with this allowance, it would create still create an encroachment of 0.08 feet. However, the PDO does not permit an enclosure of a non-conforming patio when part of the principal dwelling. So since the addition is attached to the principal structure, it is not part of the patio, so it will be the full 105-foot rear yard encroachment. So yeah, this patio extension will encroach into the full 105 feet. As you can see here, here's the subject property. The patio is approximately right here in the rear of the property. And just to explain a little bit more what we were saying, so here's the site plan of the property. This full patio right here would be the principal structure addition. And this shows the 5.8 feet from here to here and the 2.3 from here to here, and as well as the 105 square foot over the 20-foot setback. Here's a couple pictures of the property. As you can see, the patio coming out of the rear of the house. So our standards of review that you will rule on, unnecessary hardship would result from the strict application of the ordinance. The hardship from conditions that are peculiar to the property, such as size, location, or topography. The hardship did not result from actions taken by the applicant or the property owner. The requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, intent of the ordinance, such that public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved. So after the public hearing, your role is you have the authority to subpoena witness and may request additional information, continue the public hearing, grant the requested variance, deny the requested variance, or grant the requested variance with conditions. Any decision to grant or deny the request shall be accompanied by findings of facts stating the reason why the request meets or does not meet each of the standards of review, and 4 of 5 must concur on the vote to grant the variance. Staff does not offer recommendations on variance requests as the decisions are based solely on the testimony and evidence presented at the quasi-judicial hearing. And at this time, I would like to submit the following into the record: the staff report with attachments and exhibits, the presentation, and applicants' materials and exhibits. And there'll be questions, and I'll take them now.
Michael, any questions for Michael on the presentation?
Could you back up to the
Microphone.
property diagram and just leave that up for us?
This.
Could you back up to the site diagram and leave that up for us, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Michael, are they extending the patio anymore, or is it?
No, the patio is going to stay.
Okay.
The addition would just cover the patio. Yes. So no more impervious surface. No, we wouldn't extend the nonconformity of the patio.
Okay.
So based on what you read from the PDO, it's not allowed to extend into the setback,
So it would
but
be,
it could extend over the portion that's not in the setback.
so it's a little bit confusing because there's two different things going on here. We have a small nonconformity with the patio,
Right.
given the 5-foot allowance that we allow for patios and decks. But since this addition's part of the principal structure, that really doesn't matter at this point, and it would be a non-conforming. It would only be allowed up to the setback line. This does not have the allowance that the patio has,
It wouldn't,
because it's part of the principal structure.
the overhang can't go 5 foot into the setback like the patio can.
Correct. So, yeah, it's a little confusing. There's two different things going on there. But what we're asking for is there will be 105-foot, encroachment with the addition into the setback, square foot encroachment.
Okay.
And this did exist when this wasn't put in. This existed when the house was purchased.
We need a motion to enter that into the record? Your presentation? Or, I know you said it, do we need to make a motion for that?
Not a motion, but you can just, as chair, you can admit that as evidence into the record as requested by staff.
As requested by staff, we'll admit your presentation as presented into the record. Thank you, Michael. We'll now hear from the applicant, Mr. D'Argenio.
Michael, well, that's an easy one
Michael,
for.
thank you.
So, no, I appreciate the time, Michael, appreciate you putting the information together. It's all accurate. The patio is existing. It's pre-existing with the house when my mom and I purchased it here this past year. The reason for the request for the variance is to enclose for, her purposes, but we need to make sure that it's ADA compliant, wheelchair, accessible, and have room to do that. So if we were to comply with the setbacks and kind of stop it there, that would infringe upon that ability. So we want to make sure that that's accessible to her for, that enclosure. So that's the primary reason for the request. We did look at other areas on the property to do something similar. Obviously the patio being there is most logical and most straightforward, but to do it on the other side, there's not an existing door. The interior floor plan with the wheelchair and stuff doesn't necessarily support that, as well as we have fireplace, HVAC, and underground utilities and propane tank that kind of interfere with that portion of the plan. So it drove us back to this solution and overall request. So any questions or concerns, please?
Bruce? Hold the button down.
I apologize. If I heard you correctly, you want to enclose the patio, but your underlying purpose was you wanted to add a handicapped access ramp?
No, the purpose is to enclose the patio. We did look at trying to conform with the existing ordinance and adhere to the setback. In doing so, that makes the room in the area too small. So that's not an option for the, the intended.
So the option would be not to enclose it?
Correct. It would have to remain open and not usable for that purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Just have one question. When you purchased the property, was that recent or?
About a year ago, October, November timeframe, yeah.
And the patio was in existence when you purchased it, is that
Yes, sir.
correct?
That is correct.
As you know from working with staff, of the four criteria that we evaluate all variances under, you mentioned something that I just want to get some clarity on, because I think we have unnecessary hardship would result from enforcement of the ordinance, and the hardship results from conditions that are peculiar to the property. So you mentioned some things related to the backyard and other structures. Could you, just because I didn't see that in the presentation, maybe just share that again, because that was a little bit of detail that.
Yeah, certainly. The only other option would be to locate this on the, the far, right corner, if you will, of the property layout. And we've got underground propane tanks. It got, HVAC facility or, utilities, fireplace, and then that would necessitate adding a door over in that area, which would be relocating those, and then some other factors. So that was ruled out as an option. So that was, my response to that in terms of, peculiar hardship in terms of putting us in this position for making a request.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant at this time from the board? You're free to stand, or you can sit. We may call you back up if we
Okay.
have questions, but thank you. So to the board, as we deliberate, Michael shared the standards of review that are mentioned as a part of our motion. All four must be met, and then if you're, for whatever direction your motion is going, so whether it's to approve the variance or to deny, you could have 3 out of 4 but not feel like the fourth one's there. That would be a motion to deny. We could ask for additional information if we feel like that would help for any of these that aren't clear. So now's the time to discuss amongst ourselves. Your thoughts, your questions may prompt thoughts someone else has, or give us an opportunity to ask Michael additional questions for clarification. I'm gonna start, Bruce, kick us off. Bruce. Get him in the arm.
To your knowledge, are there properties in that development that have enclosed porches?
Not that I'm aware of. No. I'm sure there might be, but I'm not.
Thank
no.
you.
Yes, there are other properties that have enclosed porches and additions in a similar fashion in the neighborhood.
We haven't sworn in Alex yet, but we can swear him in, or go to Michael.
No, I'm not aware of that. I didn't research that, though.
I guess the only other thing I would add is that, in preparation for this activity, we did go to the HOA and apply for the request and approval for this type of project with, overall, dimensions and schematics. That came back approved pending, the approval here from Pinehurst Village.
That, Michael, correct me, was that document of approval from them included in the packet as
It was.
So for a formality, I think I picked up when the staff's presentation or exhibits were formally entered. I think the last slide that Michael went through did also ask for the applicant's exhibits that have been prepared before. So just to keep the record tight, I would appreciate the board considering entering those exhibits into the record formally too,
Yep.
which would include the applicant's reference document.
Acknowledged, we do acknowledge and enter into record the applicant's application documents, material, and exhibits as provided to the board previously.
To clarify with staff, the 20-foot setback is an issue because it would be an extension of the principal structure. If there were some kind of exterior structure, whether that be like some kind of sunroom or a pergola structure, would that be held to the same setback, or would
As
there
an
be?
accessory,
Yeah.
the accessory setback is 10 feet.
Which means it's not attached to the building by being called an accessory,
Yes, it's
correct?
detached.
Right. But what's being requested in the variance is an overhang, which is,
It's a Carolina room.
so fully enclosed
Yes.
structure.
Fully enclosed, attached structure attached to the main.
Correct.
Right.
It's an extension of the principal structure.
Okay.
Addition to the principal.
And excuse me, sir, I remember you mentioned that one of the driving factors in this was access to the interior of the home, and that you didn't want to move it to one side because you'd have to create another entry into the home that was wheelchair accessible without building the accessory, without building the structure. Do you have that access from the patio?
Correct. The existing patio, that is correct. And if you go, the picture, the lower two pictures show an existing a door that provides that access. If we were to do a pergola or something offset, then naturally I'd have to manage, wheelchair access and ramp, and if it were detached and having to overcome that.
Thank you.
Is the current door wheelchair accessible, or do you have to make it bigger, or?
It's sufficiently wide.
Okay.
So I believe this was the standard reference in Michael's report, but the PDO 2.3.3, non-conforming structures, existing single-family dwellings, that's the, yep. So there's actually a picture in the PDO that is not exactly this instance, but it's pretty close to say, let's see. Existing single-family dwellings are exempt if the proposed addition will either meet the current setback standards or will not further encroach into any required setback than the existing structure. This shall not apply to to enclosing existing non-conforming decks and patios not under roof if the deck or patio is the furthest projection into the setback, which is the case here because of the angle. All of the requirements, including impervious surface, shall be met. So I think as we're reviewing this, clearly they're asking for a variance. But the PDO did contemplate this, at least in that paragraph, as not allowed. So it really is on us to determine, unnecessary hardship, all those four factors there. So we can ask more questions, but I would ask the board to someone be working towards a motion that includes reasons why under each of those four, in whatever the direction the motion is moving. For its staff.
Well, for the board, there's a couple of ways to frame a motion. One way is to frame it as approve the variance, and then if you don't get the required 80% vote, then it's by definition not approved. Yeah. So my question is, which would the board prefer? Would they prefer to do it that way, or would they prefer to do it? Which method of approaching the motion is most reasonable in people's minds?
Michael, the findings of fact are required whether the motion is to approve or deny, correct?
Correct.
That's right. So this is a very good question, and this is one I've been thinking about procedurally, how we could maybe, we can't foresee every circumstance, right? Of course. So yes, the findings, the board is required to adopt findings. There's nothing required about what comes first, your finding or the vote. Obviously the finding, if the board votes on findings, then it's likely to lend itself to the vote, right? So if the board wanted to consider, you could adopt the findings, vote on the findings, which wouldn't require the supermajority, and then you could take that and use the actual vote, either in affirmative or in a denial. It's just not how we have done it, but we have had a couple instances, not saying that's the case tonight, where the supermajority of the 4/5 vote has not been met, but the motion was to approve. So it's almost like if that were to be the case, then you would almost have to have another motion on the table to then say that the variance does not pass. So there's actually that action of in the negative instead of in the affirmative. Does that make sense?
So it depends. I mean, it kind of depends on where the motion is headed.
And typically, if you're adopting and the board agrees by a majority on the findings, obviously, again, as you, Chairman, mentioned, a Board of Adjustment must find by a 4/5 supermajority that all standards of review have been met.
Maybe a good way to address that is to do a straw poll, see where the board is, and then what's the simplest.
The only vote should be an outright vote. No leading one way or the other. This is the evidentiary hearing. It's very, very strict procedure. I understand you guys are wrestling with it. It can be a tough decision. It's got to be based on what has been presented and all four of those findings of fact.
Yeah, I don't like it, but it's enough.
Okay.
Right. I'm working on the motion.
One thing is unique as we're looking at this is obviously the layout of the house, the angle of it in relation to that lot. Not being perpendicular to the property line. Peculiar doesn't have to be every property necessarily, it just needs to be peculiar. Michael, the current, change my mind. Ma'am. You can ask that question.
Were there any letters in the package from the neighbors or the neighbors?
We had no feedback from
Okay.
neighbors.
I know the.
So
neighbors-
obviously, all the,
No, I
all the
hadn't.
neighbors were mailed notice of the public hearing and had opportunity to come be heard, yes.
I saw that.
Correct,
Okay.
and the property was posted, yeah. And the, HOA would've got the letter
Right,
too,
I saw it,
because
yeah.
it's adjacent to that road and they own the road, so they got it as well.
And they'll approve it as long as we approve it.
They've
Right.
already, there was a letter in this,
Said we,
yeah.
we approve,
Correct.
subject to us.
Yeah,
Okay.
not evidence, but anecdotally, I did visit, Mom and I did visit the adjacent properties and asked the question, talked to them. There were no objections, but that's anecdotal on my part for you.
Okay, thank you.
Haven't, while we've been in the hearing before there's any action, we have not asked if anyone else is here that would like to present any additional evidence on the request.
Is there anyone present tonight that has standing and would like to present any evidence to this board on this hearing request? Seeing none, I think we are working on a motion.
Back to the same question. How do, if you phrase it one way, trying to come up with the.
Bill?
I move that I move the Board of Adjustment deny the variance request for 40 Gull Lane and adopt the following findings of fact. The unnecessary hardship would not result from the strict application of the ordinance because the application of the ordinance does not prevent access to the property as planned. The hardship results from conditions that are particular to the property. That's true. The existing approved layout of the property renders the existing conditions to be, renders those existing conditions. And C, the hardship did not result from the actions taken by the applicant or the property owner. These conditions existed prior to the purchase of the property by the property owner. And the requested variance is consistent with the spirit and purpose and intent of the ordinance, such that public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved. There would be, regardless of approval or disapproval, no impact to public safety.
Motion by Bill. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Okay, we'll vote on the motion with the roll call starting from my left. Motion is to deny.
I vote against the motion.
Aye.
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 Aye. The request is denied. Thank you to the applicant and to staff for the presentation. I would now ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
I motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Devin, second by Bruce. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is now closed. Next regular meeting of the Board of Adjustment, if there's business to conduct, is scheduled for March 5th, 2026. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second?
Motion by Bill, second by Amy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at